What happens when the quietest town in the countryside suddenly becomes the center of a bizarre mystery, and the only one smart enough to solve it is a sheep? Today we're breaking down The Sheep Detective, a mystery comedy adventure filled with secret clues, strange disappearances, hidden tunnels, and one genius sheep determined to uncover the truth. This movie starts off looking like a harmless family adventure, but before long, it turns into a full detective thriller with twists nobody sees coming. Grab your snacks, because this is the complete one-hour recap of The Sheep Detective. The Peaceful Farm. The story begins in the quiet village of Willow Creek, a peaceful countryside town surrounded by green hills and giant windmills. At the edge of town sits the Brightwood Farm, owned by an elderly farmer named Walter. Walter is kind, patient, and loves all his animals equally. But among the dozens of sheep on his farm, one sheep stands out from the rest. His name is Winston. Winston isn't like ordinary sheep. While the others spend their days sleeping, eating grass, and wandering aimlessly, Winston secretly spends his nights reading detective novels inside the barn. Every evening after the farm falls asleep, Winston sneaks into Walter's house through a broken kitchen window. He sits beside the fireplace and reads mystery books for hours. Sherlock Holmes, Poirot, Nancy Drew, even crime newspapers. Winston becomes obsessed with solving mysteries. He studies human behavior carefully. He watches how people lie, how they react under pressure, and how tiny details reveal the truth. The movie immediately makes Winston lovable, because despite being incredibly intelligent, nobody takes him seriously. To everyone else, he's just a sheep. But Winston believes he was born for something greater, and soon, he gets his chance. The first mystery. One morning, the entire village wakes up in panic. The prized golden rooster belonging to Mayor Higgins has disappeared. This rooster isn't ordinary. It's famous across the county because it won several competitions and was worth thousands of dollars. Mayor Higgins storms through town screaming that somebody stole it during the night. Everyone immediately suspects foxes, but Winston notices something strange. There are no claw marks, no feathers, no signs of struggle. Instead, Winston spots wagon wheel tracks leading away from the mayor's barn. That means the rooster wasn't attacked. It was kidnapped. Winston quietly follows the tracks through the woods while pretending to graze nearby. The tracks suddenly disappear near Miller's Bridge. That's when Winston finds the first clue, a silver button. The button has a tiny symbol carved into it, a wolf's head. Winston remembers seeing the same symbol before on the coat of a traveling salesman who recently arrived in town, a man named Victor Graves. Victor is charming, polite, and always smiling, but Winston immediately senses something suspicious about him. The sheep begins secretly investigating Victor, and this is where the movie really starts becoming fun. Winston becomes a detective. At night, Winston sneaks through town, gathering clues. He hides behind barrels, listens through windows, follows suspicious people through alleyways. The movie turns into a full detective story, except the detective is literally a sheep trying not to get caught. One hilarious scene shows Winston disguising himself under laundry hanging outside a house just to spy on a conversation. Another scene shows him rolling downhill inside a hay bale to avoid being seen. But beneath the comedy, Winston starts uncovering something bigger. The missing rooster is only the beginning. Soon, more things vanish across Willow Creek. Jewelry, farm equipment, money, even pets. The entire town becomes paranoid. People begin accusing each other. Friendships start breaking apart. Mayor Higgins creates a nightly curfew and hires guards to patrol the streets. But Winston notices something nobody else does. Every robbery happens during heavy rain, meaning the thief uses storms to hide their tracks. That level of planning means the criminal is extremely smart, possibly smarter than the entire town. Meeting Daisy. During one investigation, Winston meets Daisy, a clever sheepdog owned by the local librarian. Unlike everyone else, Daisy quickly realizes Winston is intelligent. At first, she thinks she's imagining things, until Winston uses sticks to spell words in the dirt. Daisy is shocked, but instead of exposing him, she becomes his partner. Together, they form a secret detective team. Daisy handles communication with humans, while Winston focuses on solving. Daisy is brave and sarcastic. Winston is serious and analytical. Their personalities clash constantly, leading to funny arguments throughout the story. But together, they're unstoppable. The secret tunnels. One night, Winston and Daisy discover hidden footprints behind the town bakery. The footprints lead underground. Beneath Willow Creek lies an old tunnel system built decades earlier during a mining operation. Nobody in town uses the tunnels anymore, or so they thought. Inside the tunnels, Winston discovers lanterns, stolen supplies, and maps of the entire village. Someone has been using the tunnels to move unseen beneath the town, and then they hear footsteps. A masked figure appears in the darkness. The figure chases Winston and Daisy through the tunnels in an intense action sequence. The movie suddenly becomes surprisingly suspenseful. They barely escape after a wooden bridge collapses behind them. But Winston notices something important before escaping. The masked figure limps slightly on their left leg. That detail becomes crucial later. Victor Graves. Winston becomes convinced Victor Graves is involved. Victor always appears calm during every robbery. Too calm. Winston sneaks into Victor's wagon and discovers coded documents listing valuable items across town. But before he can investigate further, Victor catches him. For a tense moment, Winston fears his secret intelligence will be exposed, but Victor simply laughs and shoos him away. Still, Winston notices Victor also has a slight limp, the exact same limp as the masked figure. Case closed, right? Not exactly, because later that same night, another robbery happens while Victor is publicly attending a town meeting, meaning Victor couldn't possibly be the thief, unless there's more than one criminal. The dark truth about Willow Creek. As Winston digs deeper, he uncovers a shocking truth. Years earlier, Willow Creek's old mines were shut down after a cave-in supposedly killed several workers, but Winston learns the accident may not have been accidental. The mines were secretly hiding rare gemstones. Someone covered up the truth to keep the gems for themselves, and now somebody is searching for the missing treasure hidden beneath the town. The robberies were never random. The thief was gathering tools and supplies to access the hidden mine chambers. Suddenly, the entire mystery changes. This isn't about stolen farm animals anymore. It's about buried treasure and greed, the real villain. Winston eventually discovers the mastermind behind everything. Mayor Higgins. The same man pretending to protect the town is secretly manipulating everyone. Years ago, Higgins helped hide the gemstones after the mining disaster. Now he wants them all for himself. Victor Graves wasn't the mastermind. He was blackmailing Higgins after discovering the truth. That's why the mayor framed Victor. Winston realizes Higgins used the town's fear to gain control while secretly continuing the treasure hunt underground. And the masked figure? It was actually Higgins wearing mining gear. The limp came from an old injury caused during the original cave collapse years earlier. Everything finally makes sense. The final chase. Winston and Daisy race into the tunnels to stop Higgins before he escapes with the treasure. The climax becomes huge and cinematic. Rain floods the underground mines. Wooden supports collapse everywhere. Higgins loads bags of gemstones onto a mining cart while trying to escape. Winston chases him through collapsing tunnels in a wild sequence filled with near-death moments. At one point, Daisy nearly falls into a deep mining pit before Winston saves her. The tension becomes surprisingly emotional. Higgins finally reaches the surface near Miller's Bridge, but Winston traps him cleverly. Earlier in the movie, Winston learned the bridge couldn't support too much weight after heavy rain, so he lures Higgins and the overloaded cart onto the bridge. The bridge collapses, the treasure falls into the river, and Higgins is finally exposed in front of the entire town. The big reveal. The townspeople are shocked when Daisy reveals all the evidence. Victor Graves admits he tried blackmailing Higgins, but insists he never committed the robberies himself. Mayor Higgins is arrested. The stolen items are returned. Willow Creek finally returns to peace. But the funniest moment comes afterward. Walter discovers Winston's secret intelligence. At first, he thinks he's dreaming when Winston uses letter blocks to communicate. Instead of being frightened, Walter simply smiles and says, "I always knew there was something special about you." It's honestly one of the sweetest scenes in the movie.